Welcome to my video. This is a quick video on the pros and cons and some idea on how to take care of a pet rat. Just a quick introduction. Pet rats are domesticated animals, meaning they're no different than your typical dog and cat that were domesticated by people for hundreds of years, for a really long time. It started out with a rat catcher. I believe back in Europe long ago, and he found a few colored rats. Typically they would be brown or dark brown or black in color. But then he found some what he called fancy rats, where they have a different shade of different color, maybe a patch of white here, or maybe some red eyes. Or he found some personality traits were much tamer than the wilder counterparts. So from that he started breeding them. And they over time became like a collection, and then become what we know now as fancy rats or pet rats. Domesticated, where they rely on people for shelter, food, and care. These again are no different than your typical pet dog or cat. You won't find these surviving in the wild because they can't. So I want to stress that making a decision to take in a pet rat and changing your mind, it's okay. It's okay. Some people are just not prepared of having an animal that they thought was all cute and cuddly, like you watch on most YouTube videos, and then come to find out that they smell, that they have a lot of work, that they may have a lot of vet bills, or they're short-lived, and all these expectations were met, or maybe the child didn't want it anymore. I do ask that you don't release them into the wild, because they won't survive. They will die from starvation. They will walk up to people begging for food. Wild rats don't do that. And they do not interbreed with wild rats. They are two different species, and wild rats will attack and kill them. So don't think that they'll go off and join some wild rat colony and live happily ever after. It's just not gonna happen. So if you don't want your pet rat anymore for any reason, there are rescues, SPCAs, and even rescue group on Facebook group, rat groups that will happily help you rehome or take in your pet rats if you really need to move or get rid of your rats. Rat people, I find that, and I join a lot of groups. I'm in a snake group, I'm in a lizard group, I'm in a dog group, cat group, and I find that even bunny groups. I find that one of the most passionate group of people are rat people. They love their rats. They're huge fans, and they will do anything and everything to support you, give you advice, and even help you rehome or foster your rats. So don't think that, if you have a difficult situation, you get judged and criticized, so therefore you shouldn't seek help. You should, because you'll be surprised how friendly people can be, because in the end, it's for the common good. It's for the love of the rats. Anyways, so back to the video. I just want to say that in case before I start, because I don't want people running out and getting a pet rat and then not knowing what to do if they don't want it anymore. So for the pros, they're sweet, they're cute, they're cuddly. Look how cute this face is. This is Mac. He was a feeder rat turned pet, I guess, if you want to call it. Even though feeder rats and pet rats are really no different, there's the same species and both domesticated by people. The only difference is a feeder rat is born and raised just to become just that, a feeder rat. They're not socialized. Okay, buddy. Here's Mac again. They're not socialized like this guy. He wasn't socialized by people. He wasn't. He was terrified when I first got him, and he was intended as a live rat for my snake. And long story short, I did not feed him off to my snake because I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't feeding live. I would do it if I have to, but I won't do it if I have a choice not to. So I think that's Jack inside. So you have both types, feeder rats, pet rat. Pet rats are really from breeders who breed for personality, for certain traits like Dumbo ears. This is Mac. He's a Dumbo rat, where the ears are more like on the side, Whereas Mac is just your regular typical fancy rat, and you can see his ears are more pointed forward. But both seek human attention and affection if they're tamed properly and socialized properly. So that's one really good thing about them. They recognize their people. They do come up to you every day, mostly to see if you have a snack. As you know, usual, just like your pet dog would. They think you have a cookie or something to give them. Pet rats do the same thing. Number 2, they're incredibly intelligent. As an example, my husband accidentally left their cage door open the other day. And for the whole day while I was working, I didn't get the chance to check on them because of my work. I was so busy. By the time I had the time to check on them and I noticed the door was open, I thought my rats had run off. They did not. They were just sleeping in their hammocks and their boxes, just having fun, or well, sleeping. Something I wish I was doing. But so, not saying all pet rats won't run away if they had the chance, but most will come to you. Like if I were to get up right now and walk around, they follow me. So there is some sort of recognition and loyalty, if you want to think of it like that. If I did that with, let's say, my snake, snakes are not really domesticated in a sense, they'll run away. And you can call their name all you want. They'll just keep moving. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But pet rat, bunnies and dogs, even cats, they learn their names. And they know, they're smart enough to know most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, that what's safe is safe and what's not, it's not. So they would rather stay with you where it's safe and secure than to run off to somewhere that's not, most of the time. So they are intelligent. They can learn tricks too. I have taught them how to stand on a little red pedestal to get food. They learned literally in 2 tries. The only one that was slow in learning was Mac. But like I said, they were bred to be food, not for anything else. So more than likely, I won't be surprised that he was an inbred. He was bred from parents who were sisters and brothers or related. Because he was supposed to be bred for food. He's supposed not to live this long. So, but he learned. After maybe 5 tries, he got it. Whereas the other rats that I had, they were from the breeders, learned it in about 2 tries. So they can learn tricks. They can learn their names. They're very, very smart, very clever, and they can figure out little tricks. You can buy one of those smart toys meant for dogs. I give them smart toys all the time and put food in it, and they learn how to navigate and get the food out in no time. Sometimes even smarter than my own dog. It's freaking crazy. But they're very smart. Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute, buddy. You're so chubby. Book. So number 3, pros about pet rats is that they're small. They live not a long life. They're short-lived. So commitment that won't take you more than 3 to 5 years. So if you plan to go to college, you're gonna move out, or live on your own, or whatever. If you don't have any long-term commitment, but you want a furry little friend, a companion with you, then pet rats are good for you. I mean, it's sad that they won't live too long. At the same time, you won't have to worry about, do I take my pet rat with me after I graduate to go to college? So let's talk about the cons. The cons is, again, short-lived. They're so sweet and such good pets. I mean, if you ask most people who kept pet rats, they almost always tell you they don't regret it. I mean, they, whatever problems they had, medically, behavior, whatever it is, they almost always come back and they will tell you, wow, pet rats are great. Why is that? Because they are. I mean, it's almost an understatement. For something so small, they have such great personality. They have great personality, they're very sweet, and it's sad that they don't live very long. Number 2, because they don't live very long and their metabolism are incredibly fast, they are also prone to tumors and cancer and cysts and respiratory problems, which they are actually born with. There's this type of bacteria that all pet rats have. The only type of rats that don't have it are rats born in the laboratory setting. What they do is, what happens is when these pet rats are pregnant, the females are pregnant and they give birth, the bacteria is transferred to the babies through, I believe, the genital area when they're given birth. So it gets passed on to the babies before you even get the chance to prevent it. The only way to prevent it is to give the pet rat, the female rat, a C-section, so that way they don't pass through the genitals when the pet rat gives birth. And this usually occurs for laboratory rats, where they need to have these rats tested for science reasons, scientific studies, and they need to be clear of all disease, so that way they can get the experiments, the best results for their experiments. And they do spend that kind of money to have their female rats tested for the bacteria, and to get the C-sections needed to get the baby rats out safely and without the bacteria being transferred to them. And the ones that you would probably get in the pet industry are not laboratory rats, even though, again, they are the same species. These are, unless your breeder found a way to isolate its rats from this bacteria and be able to pay for the C-section for every female rat that they get, it's almost always guaranteed your rat has it. It's inside of them. It's in there. But it's very asymptomatic, meaning you don't see any symptoms. It could be for a very, very long time, or it could be right away. It looks like a cold. It looks like a respiratory infection, and it kind of is. And it's very progressive. As they get older, the symptoms may start to show, but almost all rats will have this problem if the tumors doesn't get them first. And there's no cure for it. You can treat it with antibiotics and other medication to keep the symptoms down, but they almost always resurface, and eventually it will get worse. And that is just how it is. Again, that is not guaranteed that that's how your pet rat's gonna, die from. It could be just simply old age, passing away in his sleep, painlessly, and so forth. You never know. So don't let that deter you. But that is something that a lot of people don't know, is that the pet rats are born with this bacteria, and there is no cure, only treatment for the symptoms to help them and give them a quality of life. And as they get older and the immune system get weaker, then the symptoms probably will become more obvious and more severe. So that's number 2, illnesses and health issues, especially as they get older, due to their high metabolism, short lives, and so forth. Okay, number 3. The con about pet rats is their cost in care, not the cost of the rat. The rat is actually pretty affordable. Like these 2 breeder rats, they're brothers. I got them for $15 each, which may seem a lot for a pet rat, because Mac, who is a feeder rat, Mac is only $2.50 because he was a feeder rat. And you can get a feeder rat if you like, if you don't want to spend that much on a pet rat, because they don't live very long, which makes sense. $15 is a lot for a 3-year-old rat. Or you can just pick up a feeder like Mac and just tame it yourself. Not all feeder rats will tame up like him. Okay, some won't. Some will always be shy. Others will tame up very quickly. It depends. Some may even be tamed right off the bat. So it depends. What helped me with Mac's taming, and he wasn't like this at the beginning. He was very shy. If I were to touch him, he freezes in fear. He won't take food from my hand and so forth. It took a really long time working with him, giving him food, feeding him by hand, short sessions of petting, just to show him that I'm not here to hurt him. And having these 2 brothers with him, they actually sped up his taming, his socialization sessions. He almost immediately started trusting me and my husband and I more. He's now, he would lick my hand. I mean, I never thought this would even happen with him. I wouldn't have foreseen this over a year ago when I first got him. So It can happen if you wanted to work a little bit harder with a feeder rat, if you feel like you want to rescue them and give them a good life. I'm not against it, okay, but understand that there may be difficulties. You know, if you fail to socialize your rat, it is what it is. You're just gonna have to accept it. And also, they may be prone to more health issues because they are most likely inbred and not bred for health. They are bred for to live long enough to become food. Hey, what are you doing? Don't eat. Don't eat weird stuff. So that's a third con that I have for these rats, is that the cost of the cost of the rats, it could be a con or a pro depending on your budget. And the cage and the materials, the supplies is what's going to cost you the most, and the vet bills. These are animals you don't house in a small little cage. You need at minimum, first off, you can't just keep one rat. You have to have 2 or 3 at minimum, because they are very social animals. It really benefits them to have friends. And all 3 of them are males, and they were all very young, about the same age when they're put together, so they don't really have any issues. They're not neutered either, so they pretty much get along most of the time. Of course, you have your typical hierarchy squabbles, but nothing serious, which is very common. That's normal. Your rats will have little, hierarchy, who's the dominant rat and so forth, the social hierarchy and so forth. So you're gonna have to get more than 1 rat. You're gonna have to get maybe 2 more rats if you have 1 rat. That's the recommendation, and it's really good for their mental health. They keep each other happy, so that's gonna cost you a little more. Or you can adopt them, which at a discounted fee. And then the caging. At minimum, you would need a large cage like the Ferret Nation. I have a Ferret Nation cage for them. When they're baby rats, especially, you need to find a cage where the space between the bars is not big enough, where if they squeeze their head through, their whole body can get through. That's how good they are at getting out of into small spaces. So Ferret Nation cages have the space between the bars perfectly for baby rats, for young rats, as well as adult rats, and enough space. And you can, it's easy to clean. It's very, and you can use it for a different animal should your rat passed away, and you can always use that same Ferret Nation cage for something else, like kittens and so forth, because it's that big. It's big enough for your pet rats to move around, and you can decorate it with hammocks and boxes. My rats love boxes, as you can see. They're just pushing that box around. They can't even fit in there. Oh my goodness, what are you doing? So you can, boxes, you can pretty much get them for free, but the cage itself can be very, very expensive, over $175 or more. If you're lucky, you may find one that's used and someone's looking to sell it, but generally they're very expensive at the start, so the cage is expensive. I would also recommend picking up a cement tub for the bottom tray, because if you were to use bedding like Carefresh bedding, those bedding will fall right out of your cage and it's gonna make a mess. Cement tubs are about $24, $25 at a Home Depot or Lowe's. You don't even have to cut it. At first I thought I had to cut it to make it fit. You just have to push it in. Just use some, muscle and push it right in. It'll fit right at the bottom of the cage, and that way it prevents all the bedding from falling out and stuff. But Carefresh bedding is probably my most expensive daily expense. I spent probably a big bag of Carefresh almost every week or every other week, because I clean their cage several times. I try not to clean too much. You can't clean too much because then they'll mark more. So I clean the cage about 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how stinky it gets. It does hold the odor very well. I don't use fleece because of the odor. I've tried fleece. fleas just don't hold the odor as well as Carefresh. So I would rather pay a little more because I don't like stinky smells. And oh yeah, and rat smells. Okay, they do. They have this. Some people love that smell. It smells like chips. I'm okay with it until I'm not, because they're poop smells. So rats do have a stink. Okay, they do have a certain stink to them, and they do pee a lot, almost anywhere. Even if you litter box train them, they would pee here and there to mark their territory. It's just what they do. So they can get stinky. If you don't like stinky things, don't get a pet rat. But yeah, Carefresh can be pretty expensive. You know, it's getting to a point where I'm always keeping an eye out for deals, for some deals out there at PetSmart or Petco or even Chewy, to check for any deals, buy 2 get 1 free or something like that. So keep that in mind. It can get very expensive just for the supplies. They need toys, chew toys, hammocks. Hammocks can get expensive if you buy them online, or make them your own. Can be done. You can make your own hammocks, but it still requires some money for you to pick up the supplies and so forth. And they will use them. They love hammocks, so the hammock is a must. Get a hammock for your pet rat. They love it. You decorate your cage with as much clutter as you can. And all that can add up with the toys, the chew stuff, and the hammocks, and the running wheel, and oh, see, they're poopy. The running wheel, all that can add up and a lot of money, and vet bills. Hey, what you doing? And vet bills. If they get sick. At one time I thought Mac, had a bad respiratory infection. I took him to the vet. I had to pay $75 just for an exam visit for a pet rat. I mean, this is the exotic vet fee for any exotic pet I brought in, reptiles included. But to think that I would be spending $75 exam fee for a pet rat seems a little crazy. That's not including his medication. I don't mind. I mean, I had the money, I can do it. But for some people, they may look at that bill and think that, what the heck? That is a lot of money for a pet rat. They only, they don't live very long, and you spend $75. So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to or can't afford that kind of money for a pet rat, and they will get more sick as they get older, as I mentioned previously, with the health issues that they can possibly have later on. And I didn't even list all of them. There are more. There could be other issues like ear infections, and so forth that they need vet care for, and or maybe they need to be spayed or neutered due to health reasons or behavior issues. These things I haven't even really talked about. So it can add up very quickly, and these things happen not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Right, buddy? So, would I keep pet rats again? Probably not. I mean, the reason why I really kept it saving, keeping Mac as a pet was kind of accidental. It wasn't on purpose, and I don't regret it. But after they pass away, I probably won't have pet rats again, just because of how much work is involved, how much time is involved, how much money is involved, and so forth. Maybe, I don't know, I really, really like pet rats, so maybe if I see another pet rat, I'll change my mind. It's really hard to resist having one, because they are just so good. They're so good. Once you have a pet rat that you fall in love with, it is so hard to convince yourself that they're terrible pets, because they are not. And losing them could be very heartbreaking because of their short lives. So you're going to have to tell yourself, is it really worth it? Some people can do it. I'm not going to tell you to take something on and to find out that you're going to lose your rat later, and you were not prepared for it. Everybody deals with pet loss a little bit differently. But in my opinion, and I have lost a lot of pets over the years, Even, you know, something as small as a hamster that's also short-lived. I would say that you have to tell yourself, are the, you know, were the good memories worth it? Hey, buddy. If the answer is yes, the rest means nothing. That's my opinion. You just have to enjoy life one day at a time, and these pet rats will teach you that. They don't care about their lifespan. They don't care how sick they'll get eventually. All they care about is, are you going to give them a cookie today or not? Oh, look. He's bruxing. That's their way of saying that they're happy. He's happy. You see that? The chattering and the eyes. A rat does that when they are happy. Poke. Okay, I'm gonna put them back in their cage. I just finished cleaning their cage. They'll get to come out later tonight in a room where they get to run around a little bit. Oh, and also outside time is kind of important. You want to make sure you have space for your rats to run around just for a little bit. To get some exercise. You guys are too cute. All right. See you later.